There we go. And then I'm also just going to share my screen. So I will get that ready. All right. So again, welcome everybody. For this second series, we're going to be talking about women's and mental health. And the theme for this year with NAMI is Together for Mental Health. And I'm going to be your moderator today. My name is Denise Beerholm. I am the Executive Director of NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness for Pinellas County. And just some friendly reminders. Again, please put yourself on mute so we don't hear any background noises. And during this conversation, if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I will be monitoring the chat and we'll be answering questions at the end. I do want to thank our sponsors, Humana, the Far From Alone campaign, and also our great community partner, Community Foundation of Tampa Bay. And with us today, we have Wilma from the foundation. So Wilma, I would love to have you just speak about yourself and about the Community Foundation and all the great work that you are doing.
Well, thanks so much. This is such important work, and I'm happy to be here. I'm Wilma Norton. I'm the Vice President of Community Connections at the Community Foundation Tampa Bay, and I've been here about 8 years after a career in newspapers for a long time and at St. Petersburg College for a number of years. And the Community Foundation has sort of 3 roles in our community. We work with generous people to help grow their philanthropy and to use their philanthropic dollars in the most impactful and strategic way. And that is a great privilege for us to be able to work with folks in our community who really want to help make this a better, more vibrant, more prosperous place to live. We also work with nonprofits. We do competitive grants, and that I think may have been where we first came to know NAMI. And but besides the grant making, we really are invested in making connections, being a resource for our community, and for doing projects that help bring the community together around a topic. And one of the things we're very passionate about right now is mental health. Even before the pandemic, we were concerned about the mental health of our community and had made that a focus of our charitable giving. And then during the pandemic, we recognized that this was just getting worse and worse and was its own epidemic, our mental health crisis. So we do a lot of work around mental health with lots of partners, but one of the things that I want to let all of you know about is our mental health first aid initiative. Our board has committed $300,000 to provide mental health first aid training to people in our community who work in nonprofits, who work in faith communities, and who work in educational settings. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, please visit our website or reach out to me personally. We love being able to do this for groups, to be able to train an entire staff at a nonprofit so that they can be trained to look out for the people they serve, but also to look out for each other. And I think that's really maybe even the most important thing right now. So I am happy to be here. I want to thank all of you for the work that you do. And please let us know if we can help in any way.
Great, thank you so much, Wilma. And again, from our perspective here at NAMI Pinellas, the Community Foundation has been such a wonderful partnership. And besides grant making, us, the 2 organizations, we've also worked on several initiatives to benefit the community. So really excited to expand our partnership, just not on a grant making, but also on really several important mental health initiatives. So thank you so much, Wilma. Thank you so much to the Community Foundation Tampa Bay to always continue to support us and to also to be sponsoring this wonderful webinar. So thank you so much. Alrighty, so a couple of things that we're going to be talking about on this webinar. Again, it's a mental health. We're going to be talking about women's issues, but again, just looking about, the overall mental health in women. What plays a role in women's mental health? We know that there might be a sex gap, right, between men and women, so we really want to focus on that. And then what are some women mental health resources that we can talk about, and how to maintain some positive mental health, right? Maybe some coping skills, some strategies. What are these fabulous ladies put in their toolbox to help maintain their overall wellness? And then we'll open it up for some questions and answers. So with further ado, we have some wonderful, wonderful speakers with us today. And I'm going to let each speaker introduce themselves. We are going to start out with Sybil Stinonis, who is a TEDx speaker. She has a dance therapy. She's a mom of 2 amazing kids, and she has a wonderful story. So Sybil, thank you so much for joining us today, for sharing your knowledge. And if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself. Can't hear you.
Okay, well, that started out on a thumbs up. Okay. Listen, I listened and I muted myself when you said to. Okay, so as Denise, thank you so much for the introduction and for having me today. I'm honored to be here. My name is Sybil Stinonis, and I am a single mom of 2 boys. I am a dance specialist, which is a combination of a dance therapist and a dancer, a dance teacher, dance instructor, whatever you want to label it. I grew up competitive dancing all my life. I am a TEDx speaker, and I have a bachelor's in psychology from SUNY Old Westbury. I am honored to be here just to help educate women and just our peers and how you can overcome certain things that affect you in life, and I'm honored to help share those.
Well, thank you. So we're so happy to have you, and we're really looking forward to pulling out some knowledge from you. Next, we have Martha Dubois. Martha, if you would like to take a few minutes and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So I'm excited to see the faces that are here with us sharing this lunch and learn, and of course the panel and our sponsor. My name is Martha Dubois. I am a certified personal growth and development strategist, and I am passionately dedicated to educating, elevating, and empowering women. And I say passionate because anything that we do in life, we have to have some sort of a feeling, put some sort of investment of ourselves into it. And so educating, I don't believe we know what we don't know what we don't know. So I believe because of that, we should always be on the route to learning, to listening, to preparing for what comes next for us. I am also an international best-selling author 5 times over. I've also created about 13 international best-selling authors. But my passion is about setting a platform for women to become empowered and to just do more than just a standard mom, wife, teacher, just the standard roles.
Great.
I live in Clearwater, Florida, and I do have 3 grown sons. I just want to throw that in there.
Yes. And also, most importantly, too, Martha is also part of the NAMI family. She does serve on our board of directors, and she's also an amazing facilitator. So we thank you for your time also that you give to NAMI on a personal level. So thank you, Martha. And then last but certainly not least is the beautiful Julie Jackson, who's also a part of NAMI. So Julie, I will let you introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name is Julie Jackson. I am the Master's of Social Work intern at NAMI right now. I'm pursuing a MSW degree through Arizona State University. And part of my degree, I have to do internships each year. So I'm in the 2nd internship right now. I am kind of in a transition right now. I have a bachelor's of studio art from UC Santa Cruz and a master's of fine arts from the Rhode Island School of Design. After I finished those degrees, I ended up working in nonprofits. I served for 2 years as an AmeriCorps volunteer doing affordable housing work for low-income families. I ended up running a nonprofit for 2 years that served emerging artists who were kind of just in those kind of their infancy, trying to figure out what their career was going to look like in the arts. And then I taught photography classes at a few universities in Eastern Washington state. As the pandemic was just starting, I was starting to realize that I needed to go back to school and find some more career stability. And so I decided to do a master's of social work. And yeah, I have 3 stepdaughters who are 8, 10, and 12. And I'm a military spouse. My husband's active duty in the Air Force. That brought us down to Florida in November. So yeah, I have kind of varied experiences to share.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you so much, ladies. I know you're going to be bringing different perspectives to this conversation. So I'm going to stop sharing and bring us to here. So again, like I said, we're going to be talking about women's mental health. And there's been, I'm going to kick it off by saying there's been research and studies that women and men's mental health can be a lot different. There was a research that said that women are more likely to be diagnosed with anxiety and depression, while men, they lean towards substance abuse disorders, when it comes to their mental wellness. So I think there's such a different scale going, from anxiety all the way down to substance abuse, and there's everything in between. So starting at that question, Martha, I'm probably just going to kick it off to you. So as a woman, obviously we do all have different challenges when it comes to our mental wellness. And I think so it's very unique to us, but, being part of the Black community, how do you feel mental wellness plays a role in your life? And what challenges have you seen, not only as a woman, but also as a person of color?
Absolutely. So I want to start off with the gap, right, between the man and the woman. And I believe it goes back to coping, how we cope, our culture, what we've learned as far as, the different roles that we play. So as a woman of color, a woman in business, I believe for us, it's really stems from mom to great mom, from great mom, great mom to mom. And it's about how we are supposed to be the super women, and we are supposed to stay strong in whatever it is. And we are supposed to, basically, our nature is to nurture. And so when you have that combination, for us, it's really about not showing the fear, not showing the disconnect, excuse me, not showing how bad we can cope, but rather have to turn around when people are looking at us, how good we can cope. And so, and all eyes are on us, all eyes are on us. And that goes from being a mom, being a spouse, a wife, and also being out there in the business world. We're made to feel like we are supposed to do so much better, that there is no time to lean on anybody else. There's no reason to lean on anybody else. It is about us, it is for us, and it's up to us to do what we need to do for our loved ones in our communities.
Right, absolutely. And Sybil, I'm going to ask you the same thing because, again, like Martha, you are a single mom with 2 boys. So, again, having your life turned upside down by some events, that happened personally in your life. How did you overcome those challenges when it comes to your mental wellness? And again, you're a single mom of 2. Oh, you're on mute. I think that should be like the saying, right, of 2022 still. You're still on mute.
I know, I'm sorry. There's distracting noises in the background here, and I have a little puppy running around. Yes, the main thing is I coined a phrase here in my house: you have a choice because you have a voice, so use it. That is huge because so many people choose to not discuss because they are so concerned with what other people think. Like, that's all I hear all the time. Like, oh, so-and-so won't like this, or so-and-so, like the approval of others is a huge part of our stigmas, which is the next, I know topic we're going to discuss, but mental health and issues does not discriminate. People can have a mental illness. It doesn't matter who you are. I mean, it's just how you deal with it. And as a single mom and a working mom, I have my own business that I have to run, and I work with children. So all day work with children and then come home and raise my boys. You have to use your words. And that's basically like you tell your kids, like you tell the littles, use your words. And if we all decided to just do that, it would open up so many great channels for us that open the discussion up. And you'll realize that there's so many of us, whether you're Black, white, Asian, it doesn't matter who you are, men, women, that we all share this common denominator of how we handle our emotions and feelings inside. That's really what it is.
So true. And again, I think, for women, the minute we do try to show our emotions, we don't want to be looked at as weak or, something like that. But, Julie, I definitely want to get your perspective because, you are a stepmom. So, but besides being a mother and being a wife, you also have that added element of also being a college student. So, trying to find that time to, work on your studies, but, to be a good wife, a good stepmom, I'm sure that does take a toll on your mental wellness. So let's if we can just talk about that a little bit and, what are you seeing as a mom that kind of fits those circles?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, it's challenging. My husband actually, he had a wife who was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. And then when we got together, I had my career and I was off in the summers because I was teaching. So I was able to jump in and take care of the kids when they were out of school and all of that. But going back to school now has been interesting because I haven't had as much time, doing an internship and working and then having the kiddos and still wanting to kind of do everything. What Martha said is really important. I think I notice myself getting anxious when I feel that I'm not able to please everyone in my life and I'm not able to take care of the kids and keep them entertained and enriched and have dinner on the table when my husband gets home. And it's a juggling act, but also I feel blessed to be able to have a partner that does understand, even when I have to kind of say, well, hey, can you do the grocery shopping this week? Or, I picked up this for dinner, you're going to make it, because I think as much as, our partners and stuff want to be supportive, sometimes it takes that like, okay, a little hand holding, because it doesn't necessarily come as naturally. But I've noticed that, setting boundaries and trying to kind of have my me time is really important, even if that doesn't come naturally for me. Yeah.
I love it.
Yes,
I
we
love
all
it.
love that me time. So, and one of the things, when we're talking about, we want that hand holding, we want maybe that little extra, it's okay, to feel this way, but there is a stigma, I think, though, when it comes around that, because again, sometimes as females, we want to feel, we have it all, we have that, I can do anything, but, again, we are human and, day-to-day events can can take a toll on our mental well-being, our mental wellness. So looking about this generational matriarch issues, I kind of want to, circle around the term stigma and kind of throw it out to you fabulous women of how does stigma show up in your life? So Julie, I'll just go ahead and start with you.
Sure. So I come from a family with a lot of mental health issues. My grandfather had substance use disorder. My grandmother has a lot of anxiety, a lot of that taken on too much kind of thing. My biological mother has had a lot of depression and issues herself. So I know that that I have the genes for it, but I also have seen how much not dealing with those issues can impact people. You know, like for example, with my grandfather, you know, 50 years ago, there wasn't the same support for mental health that there is today. Now we have so much more that we can do, but unfortunately the stigma still kind of hinders us in our ability to ask for help and show that vulnerability. I just try to kind of notice when someone's having a hard time and try to kind of spark those conversations, and try to normalize seeking help. Like for example, I was recently talking to my grandmother-in-law, and she was saying that since her husband passed away, she's still in this kind of grief cycle, you know, a year and a half later. And she was thinking about going to a therapist, but she's always been afraid because she feels like it's a can of worms. You know, once you open that top, it's all going to just like explode and she won't be able to handle it. And so being able to draw from my own experiences, you know, in therapy, getting mental health support, I was able to kind of share like, you know, you're not going to be forced to kind of relive everything. You know, you're going to build a relationship, you're going to build that trust, and they're going to help you find ways to cope with, you know, all these things. I mean, over time, I mean, we've all experienced so much. And, you know, someone who's in their mid 70s, you know, has had decades of situations that have not been processed. And so trying to kind of help people see that it is very common, and that that there is help available, and that that you don't have to feel so alone in it.
Right. And Sybil, I'll ask the same thing to you. You know, have you seen stigma when it comes to your mental wellness? And if so, how have you overcome that?
Well, I feel stigma. Am I on mute? No, I'm good.
No, you're not. You're good
Okay.
this time.
Okay, yeah. Stigma exists actually from a lack of understanding and ignorance and misunderstanding, misinformation, people just not wanting to accept. So the typical standard, you know, life that you would drop at a private school, we'll say my son is at a charter, more so private school, is you have the mom, the dad, the family, the dog, all this. Well, here comes a single mom with 2 boys in tow. And, you know, I'm a very artsy individual, that it's not the usual, you know, so my stigma might be different from someone else's, where it's, oh, you know, she's not going to be able to handle it. And I felt that vibe. However, you have to know how to react to certain things, and not everyone does. So when, you know, if you're going to let it bother you, you're never going to get anywhere. You have to just look past that, which some people can't. So the problem with our generational stigma like that is the older generation does not want to understand. They do not want to accept the new way of things, which that's where our generation here is now. And then we're raising the kids, and these kids now, they're all in different spots. They're all over the place. And I have to say that for the last, I think 4 years, my son is now 14, and they have like a leader quality every month, and one every year. Ironically, I don't know why, but every year he has gotten the trait of seek first to understand and then be understood. And I said, wow, that is an amazing trait. First of all, for the school, I commend the school for doing this. But if we listen to that, it is so true, because we're all in this, we're breathing the same air. And if you just take a second to understand that person, they're amazing. And why are we going to prejudge based on what we think we know about them when we might not know anything at all? You know, someone could be presentable yet be a hot mess inside. Doesn't mean, you know, you got to step over that fence. And that's what we need to change. And we need to be the change to do that, to let women, men, everyone know that it is okay to share that you're not okay sometimes. And that's the main thing here. And if we can get past that, our kids are going to be great, and they're going to speak up, and we're going to break that curse, that generational curse that is there.
No, very well said. And I know that's an underlying message that NAMI always promotes, is that it's okay not to be okay. You know, that's why we have therapists and support groups and, you know, different techniques. And we'll talk about some of those coping techniques. But Martha, I definitely want to ask you, you know, has stigma shown up in your mental health journey? And if so, how have you overcome that?
I feel like I'm playing double judge because I can't wait to jump in and share in the conversation.
Go for it. Go for it.
I love what Sybil says about understanding, right? We don't understand. And I also love the quote about NAMI, you know, it's okay not to be okay. And Naomi Osaka also adds, it's okay not to be okay, but it's also okay to talk about it. But when I go back to we don't know what we don't know, one thing is clear to me. Yes, we want to understand, but we have to have a conversation. And before we can have the conversation, we ourselves have to be made aware. You see, the quote from Robin Sharma, I believe, is something about awareness precedes change. And it's so true. If you don't know what you don't know, how can you make it better? But if you don't know what you don't know, what conversation are you going to have? You can't talk about it. And, you know, a lot of you don't know my story, but my understanding of mental illness versus mental wellness and mental health awareness started back when I was 11 years old, with my brother who was diagnosed with a mental illness. And then a few years later, I'm married and I'm suffering this panic attack, this anxiety, if you will. And now today we go through 2019. You know, most of us, our pandemic started in 2020. My pandemic started in 2019 when I got a phone call that my son has been shot. So we have this cycle that we go through, and we hold it all in. Remember, the Black, brown, and people of color community, we're told to hold it all in, be the strength, be that superwoman. And so generational patterns and generational habits don't change. And when we use the word, sometimes when we use a negative word to describe what's been happening generation to generation to generation, we feel that that's how it is. That's how it has to be. That's how it's always going to be. So the stigma on mental illness is because we're afraid of even whispering that we have an issue.
I'm sorry, can I jump in for 1 second with that?
Absolutely,
I'm sorry.
Sybil, go ahead.
So yes, I'm going to piggyback you, Martha. She's absolutely right, because, and if you did watch my TED Talk, or I encourage you to, because I use my personal pivots to incorporate others in it. However, what I discovered was the link between all these things is unresolved childhood trauma. So just like Martha stated when she had, you know, her brother's diagnosis, that mine was an accident where I couldn't control anything that happened. And, you know, my face hit the concrete face first, and I had facial trauma and lost all of these teeth here. They were adult teeth. And so now I had a deformity to myself. So I didn't love myself. I didn't look in the mirror and say, ooh, people don't know that about me looking at me today. And I don't walk around going, oh, you have no idea about me when I was 10 years old. I'm not there anymore. But the problem is it was secret. It was because we fixed it, right? We fixed the issue. We got very beautiful cosmetic dentistry that was removable. Imagine removing this stuff in and out growing up as a teenager. No one knew that. I didn't tell nobody that. And you still live your life. You still act like everything's okay, because that's the stigma. You need to you don't talk about it. But I didn't want to tell anybody that was going on in my life. So now fast forward, all these other little things happen because I never addressed that. Once you address that and how it made you feel, is when it's like your hands come up and you go, ah, and that it's like it all clicks. But so many people do not want to talk about anything, especially icky, bad, nothing. They just act like it didn't even happen, no matter what it is.
Absolutely.
And I think, that kind of rolls over to the next question. When you talk about, coping skills, and one of the things, you can do is talk about it. I know here at NAMI, we have great support groups where we can come together as a community and, talk about what's happening, not only, with ourselves individually, but also as a family member. So Sybil, I'll just kind of stay with you on this one. So you have this wonderful dance company, Dance Therapy, right? So I'm sure you're using that maybe as a coping skill. So let's kind of talk about and expand on that. So what are you using as coping skills? What are you using that you are putting into your wellness toolbox to help you? Sybil?
Actually, yes, thank you. And my company is Dance Therapy with Sybil. So I combine my psychology degrees with my dance expertise, and I made dance therapy. Now, a lot of people associate me with as a competitive dancer. I was an NFL cheerleader and all those things. So I don't want to be misunderstood. So I use dance as a platform to help you grow and get through your issues. So then we make fun events, and I learn about people through having fun and dancing. Well, in the interim, I do work with kids ages 2 to 18. And so in that whole development, I learned so much about children. First of all, a child's personality forms between the ages of 2 and 5. So I love being involved in their life at that time because it's critical. They're learning so many things. I teach very important life skills. And actually, at the end of the day, I am the blessed one because, first of all, the blessing from my marriage was my 2 boys. And that was the reason for that union with their father. I do not ever look at it as anything other than that. That was the reason God put the 2 of us together to create these 2 humans. And they have helped save me. In the meantime, then I was brought to share my gift of love and joy and dance with these children, and they bless me because I open my mind to learn from them, and they teach me so much. And so when we do that, you see the world through a child's eyes, and if you can do so, oh my goodness, it is what we all should do. If you open up your mind and just think like a child, dance like a child, do all of those things, we see things so differently, and they really bring joy to each day that you live. And I encourage it. I really do. And that's our future. So if I could be part of helping these kids grow and have a bright future, it's a win-win. I mean, it's helping me and helping the world. It's amazing.
It sure is. I mean, I know with me and here too at NAMI, we definitely talk about that holistic approach, right? Support groups, one-on-one therapy is great, but also I think, people need to add in holistic approaches. I think dance is great. I love to do it. I know when I'm having a stressful day, I will dance and sing with my grandchildren, and that just brings me so much joy. I love that idea, and your dance therapy, I think, is so healing. So Martha, I'll throw it over to you. What's some of the coping skills that you are doing or that you're learning to do to help with your mental wellness?
Well, from my panic attack days, the first thing that I learned to do to cope is to breathe intentionally. Now, we all know that breathing is an automatic process, right? We don't really need to think about it. The problem is, even though it is automatic, it can and has been controlled. We know, like I know through my days of growing up and going through some trauma, if you will, I learned to hold my breath. And I didn't realize I was holding my breath, all the stress. You ever watch a scary movie or a suspense movie? What's the first thing the person does? They're holding their breath. They don't even want to breathe. They want to just become invincible or invisible. And so when, the things about what we go through, not talking about some things, we learn to just hold our breaths. We learn to become the invisible one in the room. So for me, it was about intentional breathing. Yes, I am alive. I am here, and I am going to talk about some things. I'm going to share some things. I'm going to learn some things. So intentional breathing for me is huge. The second thing as far as tools and tips are concerned is, especially for the Black and brown and people of color communities, we learn to look up. We learn to go to church. but we don't look around. Our blessings and our lessons are around us. So understanding that it's not just about, having, internally feeling faith, having that faith inside. It's about sharing that faith and being grateful about some of the things. Yeah, that bent me a little bit. I melted a little bit, but I didn't break. I'm still here. And so we have to keep reminding ourselves that we're still here, which means that there's time that we can do more in this time, and we can leverage and we can lean on each other. And setting boundaries, I know, Julie, you mentioned that's one of the workshops that I really focus on, is because it opens us up to feeling about ourselves first, right? What do I want? What do I need? What do I expect? What don't I want? What I cannot have in my life, in my world. So setting boundaries is about you. I mean, mental health awareness is about you first. Because, just like the in the airplane, they tell you, take that mask and breathe first. If you cannot breathe, you cannot teach, you cannot mentor, you cannot be the example. You have to, and you cannot talk. We can't have conversations. If you don't know what's happening in your world, then the conversations are mute. So those are my top three. And journaling,
I love it.
Be the fourth.
And Julie, what about you? What are some coping mechanisms or skills that you have learned that you are putting into your toolbox?
Well, so as an artist, I've always enjoyed, just getting out of my head and making something. I find that, when my hands are doing something, then my brain can kind of, maybe not tune out, but it's a distraction. So if I'm, a lot of craft stuff, I make doll houses. I take photographs, not so much lately because it requires more time to go and then come back and the whole thing, but I knit, I quilt. I especially enjoy making things for others, which kind of fits into that nurturing thing. But, I made quilts for each of my stepdaughters. I'm making a baby blanket for my sister right now, trying to, because there's only so much room you've got in your house for all these things. So I try to kind of spread it around and make things that'll, help others in some way. I really enjoy cooking. I like when the girls are with us, I'm, always like, oh, let's try this new recipe, or I got them cookbooks and we're looking at things and trying to kind of, try new things and experiment. So that's really fun. I always love making a recipe again and again to try to perfect it. It's kind of the creativity thing. I have 2 dogs and 2 cats. And so, just hanging out around the house is like going to the zoo. But when I just need like a break, I'll take the dogs to the dog park and they just, love it. They're just very social animals. So that's really fun. And just one last one, I meditate. That really helps me just to kind of reset. Even if it's just, for 5 minutes before bedtime, it just kind of helps me to, stop whatever I'm thinking about and just kind of pause and let myself kind of decompress. So that helps me a lot.
Yeah, I love meditation. I'm a big proponent on that. And I have one more question. I probably should have asked this question prior to the coping one, but in today's society, especially with us women, we're always on social media, right? We're on TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest. I was like, what can I do better? How can I emulate this person? What are the, makeup trends that I need to wear? Their lives seem so perfect. So with that being said, and I'll throw it out and anybody can pick up on this question, is do you think social media has hurt or helped a woman's mental wellness? And I'll leave it up to you all to see who wants to go for that answer.
I'll start with that. Oh, you want to take it, Mirtha?
Go ahead, Sybil.
Okay. I just want to agree to both points. It does help and it does hurt. So it depends on how often and how much you pay attention to other people's scrolls. I always say, pay attention to your own. I tell my boys, stay in your own scroll. Don't worry about or feed. And, you know, look briefly. Don't let it rule, you know, your world. You got to step away from it. If you use it effectively and appropriately, it can actually very much help you. If it's overused, it can hurt. And that's, I agree with both sides. So Mirtha, I don't know if you agree as well.
I absolutely agree. It can help and it can hurt. The thing that I would add though is going back to, we don't know what we don't know, right? So we have to become aware of what it is that we're looking for. I think we should approach social media and everything else, whether it's networking or community service, with an open mind, saying, okay, what am I going to seed, right? What am I going to plant? And what am I going to receive? What do I need? So do I need watering? Do I need sunshine? Do I need whatever it is? So social media in the same manner. You go into your feed and somebody else's feed to get something that you need. And you give something that you can support, you can seed through, so you can watch it grow in somebody else's community. So I believe it does, like Sybil, it can hurt and it can help.
No, this has been a great conversation. I know I've, wrote down some notes and some takeaways. So Sybil, I just love the fact that you said, if you have a voice, you have a choice. And I think that's so important, because it rolls into what Mirtha was saying, that even though it's okay not to be okay, but it's okay to talk about it, right? So again, we're using that voice, we're using that choice to talk about our mental wellness. And it's okay, women, we don't have to be the be all end all to everything. It's okay that we have these bad days. It's okay to, express that we're feeling depressed, that, I can't do this all. And, again, Julie, I think you have great coping mechanisms, right? Knitting and cooking and trying a different recipe, the dance therapy. There is so much that as women, we can take away from this, and really realizing that, hey, it is okay, that we have these added pressures, because again, we all work, we're trying to maintain a home. If we have children or grandchildren or animals, doing the laundry, picking up that dry cleaning, making those dinners, there's a lot that goes on. Our mental wellness that, men might not share. I'm not saying this that they might not share all of it, but again, I think there is a little bit of a difference when it comes to mental wellness for women and men. And so I really thank you, beautiful ladies, for coming on and, sharing your thoughts and feelings about that. And now I definitely want to open it up, to some questions. If anybody, has any questions that you want to ask the women. I know nothing is off the table. We do have a comment from Lola that this is great dialogue, that we should be assessing the capacity of each individual. And I definitely agree with that. We can only do so much, because in our lives, we're just, everybody is different, right? We all have different lifestyles. We have, if we're raising kids or not kids, working full-time, not working full-time, married, unmarried. Yeah, I think we definitely need to measure everybody. And so Lola has a follow-up, what are the tools you use to assess that capacity? So Julie, I'll start with you, being a mom and a stepmom to 3 kids, what are some of the tools that you use to assess your capacity? That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so for me, it's kind of having a check-in. I think that a lot of the time when you're just busy and you're in survival mode, it's hard to kind of take that moment and kind of look within and think about, okay, how did I handle that? Or, just self-reflection, I think, is really important. And some days my capacity might be up here, and some days it's like, down here, and it's okay to have, to just kind of scrape by on those days, but then other days kind of pick up the slack and catch up. So I think a lot of it is just having that check-in with yourself and being able to think about, I'm not every day, of course, but, when you have a free moment, just to be able to say, okay, like, how am I doing? How could this improve? What could I try to alleviate some stress, on the day-to-day? And that's just kind of something I'm always working on.
Love it. Sybil, what about you? How do you
Yes,
access your capacity?
I agree with the check-in. I say to get rid of the things that are no longer serving you. So many of our issues are found in our daily routine, just saying. So if, for example, you know, your kids say if they play on the game or they're on the computer more often than like during the COVID time, many of us were. So what I started doing with my boys is after we ate, we would go on a walk about 40 minutes and we would just get out of the house and walk around the neighborhood. And it got everybody off their electronics and phone and all that. So we just changed a little bit, like that applies to Julie's check-in. You just kind of balance your day, and we don't find balance, we create balance. So the balance that may work in my home might not work in Mirtha's home or Julie's home, but as long as you do your check-ins, like Julie said, and just go through your day, and it's basically found in your day, everything that you do. If you know, you want to stop drinking or smoking or, you know, and that's what I tell people that want to do that. You just look at your day. What are you doing in your day? If you want to eat differently, then make a different choice. If you want to, you know, have a different result, make a different choice to get to that different thing. So the check-in is important. Yes.
I love that. Mirtha, what about you?
I'm going to keep it simple. Give yourself permission. Give yourself permission, number one, and say no when it means saying yes to yourself. Whenever it means saying yes to yourself, say no. Something as simple as I need to wash my hair. It should not take you a week to get it done because you're taking care of everything else. I need to wash my hair now. Stop. Give yourself permission. Go wash your hair.
No, I love that. And I know for me personally, I've been really trying to do that. I think Mirtha, you said in the beginning, it's about, you know, creating those boundaries. And I think for me, and maybe for some of you too, you know, when you assess that capacity, mine is, you know, I've got to put up those boundaries. There has to be a hard stop at a certain time. I love to walk several times a week. So I actually put it on my calendar, you know, from 4:30 to 5:30 before the heavy traffic. I'm going to get out and I'm going to walk. I'm doing that for myself to work on my, you know, mental wellness. So I just love that.
Yeah.
And again, I'm just going to, you know, leave it to the women. Are there any, you know, final words of wisdom that you would like to share with this group? Feel free. We would love to hear your words of wisdom.
I do want to ask Lola, did that answer your question as far as the capacity is concerned?
Oh.
Yeah. You know, again, I want to go back to making sure we understand that mental health awareness, this is Mental Health Awareness Month, and mental health awareness is about you, the individual, and how, you know, you want your world to be seen, how you want to see your world. And then, of course, change is wanting to do something different, wanting to alter and shift. And so as we walk away today, I'd like to invite each and every one here to start to think about what is that one thing that I will make a commitment or decision to shift, whether it's conversation or, you know, how you act, how your attitude, how you think, the things that, you know, makes your attitude shift. You know, some things that you feel uncomfortable with, are you going to get a little comfortable because you want to see that change? And I'm huge on words and poetry and stuff, but I like the quote by James Baldwin when he says, you know, not everything can be changed if you don't see it. Basically, I'm paraphrasing here. Let me make sure that I get the right quote. He says, nothing can be changed unless it is seen, but nothing but that doesn't mean that everything that you see, you're going to be able to change it. But at least if you see it, if you know it's there, if you are aware, but good things can happen, great things can happen. And we can definitely leave it to the generations to come. You know, my children and my children's children doesn't have to see that, oh, grandma, you know, is a strong Black woman, you know, and I don't have to talk, you know, with that fierce and that deep, you know, anger, because that's from the past. but I need to look in the past so that I can understand where I am now, so I can shift, make a change, alter for the future and generations to come.
That's a great analogy. I like that. Sybil or Julie, if you would like to
I
share
like to
some
say-
final words. Yeah.
I like to say that there is only one you. All of us, there is never going to be another. There's a 1 in 400 trillion chance we were all born. I did say that in my TED talk. And why would you waste your miracle of being born, struggling? Like, just make it your business to be the best you can be. And we are all born with 3 things: a mind, a body, and a life. And what we do with the first 2 determines the third. That is what I discovered. And I made that quote up, and I use that with my life, because when you think about your mind and your body, it is so powerful, and it can determine what kind of life you live. But unfortunately, and fortunately, sometimes you have to make these very hard turns in life. And some of them are good, some of them are not. And that's where your pivots come from. But you must learn from each one of them and know and be grateful for what gifts you have, and be okay with your mind and your body and your choices in your life, and know that there is no one else out there like you. And that applies to everything we've discussed here today, with the generational stigma, the this, the that. It's okay. Just love who you are, and don't worry about what anybody, when you have that freedom that you just love inside who you are, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. And sometimes it takes many of us, a long time to get to that. Just be grateful for your gifts, what you have and not what you don't have, and share those. And as long as you're not hurting anybody, and I act crazy and silly all day long, but I don't hurt anybody. You're being you. And we need that. If we were all the same, our world would be so boring. So you just have to be uniquely you and love who you are. That's it. Self-love.
I love it. Love it. Julie, any final departing words you would like to share with the group?
Sybil and Martha, really, those are really awesome. It's hard to compete with. Not that it's about a competition, but I guess just reminding folks that that all you can change in life is your reaction to things, and the way that you handle situations. We can't change what others do around us, but we can kind of take care of ourselves and figure out how to move forward, whether it is to stay in those situations or intervene. So just to not expect to be able to change anything but yourself, I guess.
Yeah. I do want to add that we are not in control of anything. See, that's what we think. That's what we believe. That's how we act, because we think we can control this and control that. But we can take charge over everything.
I love it. I love it. Well, again, and Sybil, you mentioned your TED Talk. I would really love to share your TED Talk, with the group. If you have that link, if you want to put that link in the chat, that would be great. If not, I know I can pull it, and I definitely, want to share it out with the group today, because I know I would like to rewatch it again. So yeah, if you know what that is,
how to put the link in like to the actual link. But if you go to either YouTube or just TEDx Sybil Stinonis, it'll pull right up, and it just says Dancing Through the Darkness. But I do have the link. I just don't know how do I put it on there.
I'll grab that from you, and then I would love to just kind of push it out to the group after as a follow-up. I think
that's
really
great. I'd
fun
appreciate
for people to visit and to see your full talk. So
yeah, thank you.
No, so thank you so much. I know we are coming down to the end of our time, but I do want to thank everybody for taking their time to be with us today and to, you know, dive into women's and mental health. I definitely want to give a huge shout out to Wilma Norton and Community Foundation Tampa Bay. Thank you so much for continually supporting NAMI, but most importantly, really supporting Mental Health Awareness Month. You guys do an amazing job. We are so honored to partner with you and to, you know, really just work alongside you on mental health initiatives. So thank you so much. If anybody would like a certificate of participation from this event, if you need to, you know, show your work, what did you do today? You know, feel free to put your name in the chat. We'll definitely email that out to you, and I will email Sybil's TED Talk link too. I think that'd be, you know, wonderful to share. So again, thank you to our wonderful sponsors, Sybil, Julie, Martha, for taking time to share your knowledge. Again, Community Foundation, we are so appreciative of your continued support. Thank you so much for the questions and for everybody to take time to come out today. We do have one more webinar that's going to be next month. We're going to switch gears a little bit, and now we're going to focus on the men. So now that we've heard the women, let's kind of deep dive into the men, and let's kind of see, you know, are there any similarities, any differences between what we talked about today and the perspective that we have when it comes to men's overall mental wellness. So that's going to be on next Tuesday, which I believe is the 24th. From 11:30 to 12:30, and we'll push that out for you as well. So again, thank you so much. And if any of you have additional questions that you want to ask, you can feel free to put that in the chat. I will grab those and make certain that our panelists gets those questions. But again, on behalf of NAMI Pinellas, we thank you so much. Please work on your mental wellness, end that stigma by educating yourself, see the person, not the illness, and advocate for mental health reform. Those are really 3 good step stools on how to end the stigma around mental wellness or mental illness. So thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
Have a great day, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you.